Here we are, November 20th. This is class 8. We did 8 weeks on the manifestation checklist. So today's our last segment on this. If anybody wants the whole kit and caboodle, the class, the written, the checklist, contact me. That will be packaged and ready to be utilized probably by next month or maybe January. So we talked a lot about clarity. This is the most important way to work efficiently and effectively in any arena in life. When you practice clarity as a dominant way of being, a dominant filter, it means that you develop a really strong relationship with yourself. You know what you want, you know why you want it, you know what the glitches are, you know what your follow-through is. And as you develop this level of self-love, you have a greater capacity to influence others with love. And when you are practicing the energy of clarity consistently in everything, there will be times when you feel confused or you're not clear, and you'll be hyper aware of it. And then when your target is to gain clarity consistently, you're highly supported by the divine, because even though we can't see it from human consciousness, there is a clarity of order. There is a divine organization. So having this dominant frequency of clarity builds your own personal relationship and gets you a lot of backup from the orchestration of many things. Gratitude, same thing, speaking the language of yes, more of what I want, please. Really a beautiful thing. Alignment, this is the grunt work, this is the goal setting, this is the human organization, delegating, figuring out a system, getting a system that's measurable and tangible. This is working with all the different bodies to create something that you don't yet have cohesively. This takes a lot more thought and effort and energy if you're not working with a team of other people who are co-creating with you, right? Integrity, this seems to get dropped in a lot of concepts, and yet if you're not integrous in your word, in your action, and even in developing the way that you think, you actually put a kink in the flow of things. So you really want to be aware of that one. And then forgiveness. Forgiveness, I always recommend radical forgiveness worksheets. They're free online. Colin Tippins did the work on radical forgiveness. It helps you see a different perspective of life, and it also will bring to your attention the patterns that are repeating, which is very important. You want to know what kind of pattern you're going with. And last week in class, I kind of mentioned, this is from Carl McLaurin's work, The Language of Emotions, that we all have initiations in life. Big things happen. Stage 1 is suddenly the world isn't the way you were expecting. It could be a shock of some kind. It could be a death. Being laid off from work, even good things, graduating, getting married. Life as you know it is not the same. Your reaction to it, that would be, if it's fear reaction, the fight, flight, freeze, or faint. Faint would mean you kind of just get spacey, airheaded, and check out. If you don't go all the way to resolution and create a story about what's changed in your world and how you're going to show up in it, if you don't create some consciousness and clarity on who you are having come through this, you don't complete what she terms the initiation. And stage 1 and stage 2 will keep repeating. So if you had an experience at some point in your life and you hit maybe a shock state, that would be more like faint, you just kind of check out or you freeze, right? You then grow up as an adult, or later on you create the pattern of things surprise you and then you check out, either through alcohol, overeating, shopping, binging. You just keep checking out. Or if you have the freeze response when something happened, the pattern will replay, you'll get re-triggered, and you'll freeze. You won't be able to speak up, you won't be able to change your mind, you won't be able to change your thought patterns. Radical forgiveness can help you see these patterns that you haven't resolved. Right? And of course, I love Carl McLaurin's work and recommend it all the time. So I wanted to bring that up. You always want to resolve it with consciousness. And if you're going to manifest something that's way outside of your present day comfort zone, then absolutely you're going to trigger some old patterns that need resolution for you to be a match for what it is you want next. And so I created the checklist. A lot of people tried it out, and I realized there was one big piece missing in the teaching. And it's about how do you develop intention and then go into surrender? So when we first are setting up with clarity and alignment, we talked a lot about whose business are you in. And always, the how and the when is God's business. Now this is tricky for us because in any kind of work situation, we pick how and when. We pick the date of the wedding. We pick the projected date of the project. You know, we run on linear time. And so when you're picking something that's bigger than you, and it's not a traditional business sense of hitting a goal and setting dates, this is really hard for us as humans, right? So when you're talking about manifestation, that means you're shifting your identity to this newer, broader space, whether it's financial, health, relationship, creativity, then you really want to be aware of this. So the tricky part is, how do you set up with the intention? You want to feed the desire. You want to become mesmerized with what it is that you want. You want to talk about it, think about it, you know, commit to investing a lot of time, effort, and energy and aligning to it with clarity. You want it to be a big focus, right? And then, so that's your business. How do you follow through? How do you set everything up to stretch your consciousness to fit your new intention? The tricky part for us is you also need to surrender and know that it doesn't matter how long it takes, right? So if you think about it, this is what's hard for us. Today, if we want beautiful landscaping, we can go buy flowers that are bloomed. We don't have to plant the seed and wait, right? Even vegetables, I'll buy little plants, right? Sometimes, you know, from seed, but mostly I can buy what I want already going. This is really tricky for us. And yet, on Earth, we know. You know, Olympian, to get into the Olympics, they've spent more than 4 years working towards it, right? Somebody who builds a multi-million-dollar business didn't do it in 5 years. Probably did it in 10, right? Overnight success, it used to be 18 years. Now it can be a little bit less. So the how and the when is the tricky part, right? So how you want to become mesmerized with some hows, and yet you want to be open to, I don't care how it gets delivered, right? And you also want to, you do want to project a when. Well, I would like it by so-and-so, but I'm okay if it takes longer, right? So it's this tipping point where you become totally engaged with your intention and then you surrender it to something bigger than you. Now, without the surrender, what does it look like? Attachment. Without the surrender, you will suffer. Remember, you always suffer if you're in the wrong business. If you have a deadline and it doesn't happen by then, you'll feel suffering if you're attached to the when. And again, this is very, very difficult for us because in any kind of business, any kind of family planning, any financial planning, any event planning, we use how and when all the time. So when you're talking about changing a pattern that you came in with, when you talk about going beyond your comfort zone in things that aren't supported by many, many people, it's very challenging. That's why things like Weight Watchers, if you go to the meetings and you have group support, it's very helpful. If you're taking a class like this, it's really helpful to be around other people stretching in the same ways, right? So the surrendering means, the way you know you've got it is you have such a good time imagining what you want, you become so skilled and you develop your stamina so well that you can feel so yummy thinking about it that it doesn't matter when, right? The ultimate version of that would be, well, if not this lifetime, next. That would be the ultimate version, and yet it doesn't mean you drop the ball. You keep showing up, you keep producing. So my first book, notice I say first, I'm getting better about speaking about it. My first book will probably be published around February. It seems like we're staying on the timeline that was projected, right? So, but am I attached to it? Has to be. The minute I get it has to come out and I start booking things and creating this story that February is the best month, that if it goes into March, I've missed that New Year's, you know, setting intentions rush. I'm out of my business, and then I'm not in the clarity, the gratitude, the alignment, and the integrity, right? Then it gets tricky and I could go into suffering. If I'm excited and I keep talking about it, this is when it's projected and I understand that I can't publish it. I'm not going to create the layout and the cover. Well, I'm not even doing the writing. I have a ghostwriter, right? There's so many things out of my control. So what's my job? My job is to love it, speak about it, align to it, affirm for it, do all my work, start educating myself on publishing choices, how I'm going to pull that off, what all's involved, be prepared by stretching my consciousness to be a fit for it, and then trust in something bigger than me on the timing. Again, tricky to do, but that's where you want to go, right? So once a friend of mine was paying a lot of money for coaching, and she said her coach and somebody who's quite well known, I'm not going to say the name, said they were going to be the first ones to have 1 million people join them on a teleconference. And I said, well, that's not vibrational law, because the minute you say it has to be a certain number of people, that's the how and the when. That's not even their business. They would actually have to co-create in 1 million other people's business. And that's not what it's about. Instead, if you get focused on your business, like, how do you feel about the teleconference? What's your target? What are you doing? And they didn't hit their goal. And these are people whose names are well known in logical law of attraction, not logical, in law of attraction. So again, that's just one example. We had a dear friend who had a passion to be a doctor, and yet it wasn't. She was attached to the how and when, that it could only be an American doctor and it could only be a certain way. And she still hadn't hit her target. If her passion was to be a doctor, she could have already accomplished that if she wasn't so attached to the how and the when, right? So this is really tricky for us. It's the piece you do want to pay attention to or get support and help on, right? Anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? No? Okay, so be real clear. You start understanding what is your business and other people's business. So I will just give that to you one more time using my example of the book. So I'm real clear what goes, I have help with a writer because I'm not a writer and I didn't want to learn writing. So I'll be sure that everything I want in the book is in the book. I'm clear why I'm writing the book. I always wanted to pay it forward because so many authors have blessed my life. I'm really clear on all of it. In gratitude, I spend time every day being grateful for all the teachers that have blessed my life. I'm tying it into what I want to create next. I buy other people's first books. I'm giving as I would like to receive. The alignment, I'm paying the ghostwriter. She has a schedule. I follow the schedule. I make the payments. I show up when she's ready for me to do my end. I do whatever part of it I have to do, writing out quotes from class, notes from class, and giving them to her. I'm on the schedule. I'm educating myself on publishing. I check my integrity regularly. Make sure that I keep my vibration high, as in this is something I get to do, right? I stay in the book. I want to bless people's lives. So that's about giving, about feeling the honor of being able to do that. It's very exciting. I stay there. The minute I get needy, that I need people to buy it, validate me, that it has to come out a certain way, that it has to be acknowledged a certain way, I'm out of integrity. Does that make sense? Forgiveness, that, you look at it and you're like, well, what patterns are running that might hinder my accomplishing, birthing this project and having it bless lives, right? So then you would look at, do I have patterns where I've been motivated and started something and then self-sabotage? Are there patterns of I would let fear slow me down? Or I would not want to follow through or even do another book if this one isn't a how and when. Like if this doesn't sell a certain amount, I'm never doing it again. I want to look and clean up any of that energy from the past, right? Forgive any concepts of feeling unworthy. Like drop the blame on that and just work on the opposite. Feeling very worthy to participate and put myself out there. So every once in a while I'll go through Amazon and read bad reviews and just feel the zing for the author and say, okay, that wasn't so bad, I'm good. Right? So I'm doing my end, always remembering how it turns out. Like I haven't met the book yet. I haven't seen the cover, I haven't held it in my hands yet. It's like, it's something that's definitely, it's like having a child. You carry it, or even if you're adopting it, you haven't met the child yet. right? It feels similar to that. And I remember the pressure I felt naming a human. I thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna have this name forever. It's a big responsibility. And I feel, to a lesser degree, some of that on like a book cover, right? And then I just go back to the how. It could sell, it could not sell, I don't know how many. That's not my business. I know if I get attached to the how or the when, how successful it is, who likes it, who doesn't like it. The minute I get attached to God's or other people's business, I'm not going to have the best experience of me. If I stay in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, I stay in my business and I have integrity to follow through on everything that's my responsibility, I can have a really wonderful experience. Okay? So I hope that helps, and I thank you for being with us in this series. Next month, we won't be on Facebook next week. We're doing a private thing. After that, we're going to do gratitude. And so I highly recommend anybody who wants to get the book, The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, and join us. We'll be taking a deep dive into gratitude and the blessings of it and following her 28 days for December. And I'm excited because we always have miracles happen. We make our little desires, and many of us hit the jackpot, so pretty exciting. So I wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm grateful to Facebook. I'm grateful to our students, to me as a student and a teacher, learning in this expression, even with everybody on Facebook that I don't even know who you are. So thank you, and I wish you all the best on Thanksgiving.